Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili. EPO versus Meldonium. Russian that lives on a side of a mountain versus a Georgian who lives on the other side of that exact same mountain. I mean, this is shaping up to be the ultimate test because you've got a guy in Umar whose skill set seems to be completely unfair, fighting a guy in Merab whose attributes seem to be completely and utterly unfair. And when these two things clash, I mean, it's going to be a very good fight. But what exactly do I mean when I say skills versus attributes? Well, you have Umar Nurmagomedov, who has the best kicks in the entire division, who prior to Corey Sandhagen grapple fucked every single opponent he ever went against. When he would take you down, there was no getting back up. All right, that just didn't exist. And against Corey Sandhagen, essentially completely shut down his striking. I mean, for the last 3 rounds, Corey had pretty much zero success on the feet. But now he's fighting Merab, who, again, cardio through the roof. Really strong chin. His pressure is relentless. And you just look at all the back knee he has. It's disgusting. I mean, he's repulsive to look at. And I'm telling you, that is a big advantage when it comes to the grappling. You don't want to touch this guy. You're not trying to get that chest to back connection. Because if one of those pimples pops and squirts all over you, it's going to ruin your weekend. I mean, it would ruin my weekend. So I think we have a very, very interesting clash here. But I mean, okay, who is going to win this fight? Who should be favored here? Well, look, the odds makers have it pretty heavily in the favor of Umar, which I can understand why. And in fact, I do think that Merab has some very serious hurdles he's going to have to overcome if he wants to win this fight. There are certain things that Umar does that is just always going to give somebody like Merab problems. But legitimately, on the flip side, I do think that Merab has some stylistical advantages that can really play into his game well. I mean, I really, really mean that. So I think it's a very interesting clash. I think there are a lot of nuances we need to look at here to be certain. But first, I wanted to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, DraftKings Sportsbook. Look, guys, it is a brand new year, which means there's a lot of fights, a lot of exciting matchups coming down the line. This weekend, we have UFC 311, and if there's one thing I've learned from my many years as an MMA fan, it is when you take those fighters that you really believe in, the ones you've been riding with since day one, and you just put a little bit of money on them, all of a sudden watching the fights become that much more entertaining, and that is why I have partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook. Any new customer, if you bet $5 on anything, you will instantly get $200 in bonus bets. Even if sports betting is not yet available in your state, do not worry. DraftKings is the one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy, where you can join in on all the fun and have a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Again, new customers, use my promo code MMAShay, put $5 on any wager, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code MMAShay, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Starting off here, of course, Merab's game plan, we all know, is going to be to go after Umar and try to take him down repeatedly. I mean, that is just Merab's game. And he will do this all 5 rounds, and he'll shoot as many times as he is physically able. Now, the hard part about gauging this section of the fight is just that nobody has ever tried to be takedown heavy against Umar. It just hasn't happened. Go back and watch every single Umar Nurmagomedov fight, and you're not going to see anybody try to enact this game plan against him. So, specifically, how good is Umar's takedown defense? It is pretty much, as we stand right now, impossible to be certain. We're going to know for sure after this fight. But right now, it is a bit of a question mark. Now, of course, Umar, when you just look at straight-up wrestling skills, he's very, very good. You take his fight against Bezkat Almakhan as an example. Bezkat, who is a legitimately decent striker, steps in, cracks Umar with an overhand. Umar falls, he's dazed, he's confused, he grabs onto a single leg. He tries to lift it up and go for a trip. Bezkat defends beautifully. So Umar switches and starts trying to run Bezkat back. So Bezkat shifts his weight and pushes back into Umar, which was exactly what he was waiting for. So he just cuts the angle, turns him to the side, and takes him down. all after getting rocked via giant overhand. Umar went through 3 different sequences of trying to complete this takedown before he got it. I mean, that is just very good Shane wrestling. So look, obviously Umar is extremely skilled in this area. Obviously, it's not as simple as just grab him and Merab is going to take him down. Merab needs to get deep on takedowns, all right? He needs to beat Umar to the hips. If he can do that, he can take down anybody. So, I mean, how likely is that to happen? Not very likely, I think. And the reason for that is when you look at how Merab gets deep on takedowns. We'll take the Henry Cejudo fight as a great example. Cejudo really loads up on a big right hand. Merab ducks right underneath it in order to grab the single leg, get deep on the takedown, and eventually hit it. You look at the entirety of the Sean O'Malley fight, as I've discussed many times on the channel by now. Sean O'Malley is trying to land a kill shot on Merab. Merab knows this. Merab is trying to stay away from him. He's trying to bait Sean into overextending with a shot, and as soon as he would, Merab would beat him to his hips, get deep on the takedown, and finish him. Well, when you just look at the way that Umar fights, you're going to understand why a scenario like these examples just most likely is not going to play out. And that is because, of course, Umar wants to stay in kicking range. He wants to hang back and, of course, teep at you, high kick at you. He wants to maintain the range. And when you look at the Corey Sandhagen fight as an amazing example, Umar did such a phenomenal job just controlling the distance. As fucking Demetrius Johnson would say, he controlled the void. Every single time Corey tried to step in throwing punches, Umar would just slide away, catch him with straight shots. There will never be a moment of Umar trying to overextend against Merab, landing an overhand, or really stepping in with a hard right hand. Umar is just not going to do that. He is going to be the one on his bike, on the outside, just looking to land simple straight shots as Merab is moving forward. If Umar is prepared at all for this matchup, it is extremely unlikely that Merab is going to be ducking underneath any giant right hands and beating him to his hips. That shouldn't happen here. But Merab does have a stylistical advantage in this area that I alluded to prior. Of course, again, looking back at the Sean O'Malley fight, right? Merab was terrified of Sean O'Malley's counter ability and his one-punch knockout power. Most likely because Merab's teammate had just gotten starched with a counter shot after whiffing on a right hand. So he completely changed the way he fought in that fight than he had ever had before. Prior to the Sean O'Malley fight, Merab would just go after you. He'd get in your face, swinging these bombs, would try to overwhelm you, and of course that would open up his takedowns. Against Sean O'Malley, he didn't do that. He hung back, he would cover up constantly, he never threw a punch unless Sean O'Malley was the first one to do it. But the threat is just not the same with Umar. Of course, look, he's capable of hurting you. You look at the Barcelos fight, he threw a beautiful combination where he feints with the knee, lands the right hand right on the chin. Barcelos just didn't see it coming. But still, the danger is just not quite the same with Umar. I mean, of course, in sequences like this, Merab is not very defensively sound, which is why he's been caught and rocked on multiple occasions. But Umar, if you really get in his face, if you pressure him, put him on the back foot, he's not going to be slipping your punches and really hurting you with any counter right hands. It's just not very likely. I'm sure that Umar is going to catch Merab with a lot of clean jabs coming in, but in order to execute his game plan, he needs to pressure, he needs to get into his face. That is what is going to open up the opportunity for Merab to shoot. Now, again, right, I'm not sure if Merab can take down Umar, but I am sure that if he does get in his face swinging, it is going to open up the opportunity for Merab to close his eyes, just shoot a double leg, run Umar to the fence, and try to hold him there all 5 rounds. I mean, that is literally exactly what he did to Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo, he did not complete a single takedown, but he won the fight because he just held him up against the fence the entire fight. Of course, though, this still has to be a bit of a delicate approach for Merab, because if you overswing too bad, he runs the risk of himself running into takedowns. And of course, just gauging the pure wrestling skill versus wrestling skill, I don't know. It is fairly close, but Umar is far more skilled on the ground. Of course, as we know, Merab does not have much of a propensity to actually finish you on the ground. He did jump for a guillotine on Sean O'Malley that was decently tight, but, apart from that, he's not known for taking your back. He's not known for choking you. He's not jumping on arm bars. But Umar, his ability to take your back, his overall grappling on the ground, just being honest, kind of blows Merab's away. I mean, there was a moment against Corey Sandhagen, who, of course, Corey Sandhagen, his ability to scramble on the ground is absurd. He never settles for a position. Corey is constantly scrambling and moving and fighting on the ground, and he himself is ridiculously skilled, which we saw in that fight. But there was a fucking moment that Umar put Corey into the truck and used it to secure a back take. Honestly, at that point, it's like, fuck you, Umar. Fuck you. Okay, that's unfair. All right, you already do so many skills to an elite level. The fact that you're pulling off 10th planet moves, like, where the fuck did you even learn that? All right, I guarantee you there is not a 10th planet in Dagestan. But look, I don't know. But again, point made here. Of course, I don't think any of this really comes into play if Merab does put Umar flat on his back. But again, Merab cannot be running into takedowns. He can't be too reckless, because I do think Umar is just better than him on the ground. Again, though, right, Merab does not want to stay in kicking range against Umar. That is going to be a death sentence. I think the biggest weakness that Merab has is his ability to defend teeps. That was the one giant takeaway we saw from the Sean O'Malley fight. Sean didn't target them super heavily. He only threw a couple the first few rounds, but Merab was not defending them well. What you want to do is you want to kind of slide your stomach back and you want to swipe the teep away. But Merab was only tucking his elbows. I mean, this just doesn't work, and Sean was landing it every single time. But it wasn't until the 5th round Sean lands one that really hurts Merab. And at this point, Merab is desperate to stop the teep. I mean, he is in trouble in this moment. And Sean throws 3 more teeps, and none of them got defended well. Merab just kept tucking his elbows, and Sean just kept landing them. That is how you know that this is a real weakness that Merab has. When he was desperate to stop it, he still wasn't doing it. And of course, right, you look at Umar, I mean, his teeps are phenomenal. Team Khabib, I'm telling you, has 1,000% picked up on this, and they are going to be looking to target this. And the thing that makes this even worse for Merab is that Umar has an amazing question mark kick. He lifts his knee up, he makes it look like he's going for a teep, and then he just flicks that kick right around to the head. And I'm telling you, if he starts landing this teep with success, Merab is going to be very worried about it. His arms are going to start dropping, and that's where the question mark kick comes into play. So I just think the one area Merab has to take advantage of here is Umar's lack of punching power. He needs to plant himself right in front of Umar, try to get in his face and just try to overwhelm him with strikes, and again, constantly shoot, drive him to the fence, and just hold them there as long as you possibly can. I mean, that is going to be, I think, the one area that he has an advantage here. And I think, look, that is doable. Merab does not give a fuck. He'll hold you up against the fence as long as he needs to win the fight. Again, though, I think a really difficult part of this for Merab is just the fact that Team Khabib has shown to make such amazing game plans. I mean, it's just absurd. All right, you saw what they did for Belal Muhammad. Belal's first fight against Leon and the second fight against Leon was completely irrecognizable. Islam's first fight against Volkanovski and the second fight against Volkanovski, again, completely irrecognizable. And the only difference was Khabib was only in the corner for the latter 2 of those fights. He was not there for the initial one. Again, right, I trust that they are going to have a perfect game plan here for Umar. Umar is going to be all around more skilled than Merab. That is not a secret. The only question mark is, can Umar handle Merab's attributes? That's going to be the big question. It's skill versus attributes. And look, I do think that Umar is going to win this fight. I think he should be the heavy favorite. I think this is his fight to lose. Again, I do see some advantages for Merab here. I think that if he executes them well and he's able to keep the fight where he has his advantages, it is winnable. But of course, Umar should be a heavy favorite.